Hello, 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 everyone. It is Thursday night in New York. It is April 9th, and this is the daily global Sree Covid-19 call. It's been 28 straight days of lockdown in New York, and that means 28 straight days of this show. We are live right now on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on LinkedIn. And if you join me on Instagram, I'm live right now for a behind the scenes look at what we're doing with this show. So if you're on Instagram, I'm Sreenet on Instagram. Just look at my camera here. I have a camera. Let's bring that onto the screen right there. There's a camera, and I'll just turn that around, and you can see that people are live right now there as well. So Sreenet on Instagram. So this is the first time. If you're joining me in a while, this is something new. Every week I try to do something new and different. I'm learning how to do this stuff, and I am so glad that you're able to be here. This is my honor to host this global daily conversation. Sreenet on Instagram, and at Sree on Twitter, and I'm also Sree Tips on Facebook, and Sree lots of handles everywhere, but I'm trying to make it easy for you to find me. And one of the things I recommend is to find this show, please, please, please follow me on YouTube, because if you subscribe to me on YouTube, you get an alert every time I'm live. And also I will program that first so that you will know when my shows are coming up and when I'm live. So I'm really excited that you are here with me today, and we will get a chance to talk about how you're feeling, what you're seeing. We have people who are joining us from around the world. Invite them right now. Tag them, share, reshare, tweet, retweet, and get people here so that they can join us and be part of this conversation. We have no guests today. It's just me. We might have a couple of people just drop by, but I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your questions. What it's like to live in New York City, maybe, or how about what it's like to do a show for 28 straight days, and how has the show been received? Any questions like that, I'm happy to answer them. I am so grateful to all of you for being here, for everyone who stopped by along the days that we've done this. It has been my privilege to have you here with us. Please tell us where you're watching from. Please tell us what you're up to. And Stefan's watching. He says, you are live. Oh, my man, I am. And I want to congratulate Stefan. Please follow him at Spin It Social on all the platforms, because he's just launched his own show, and he had his first ever live show that he put together, and it's going to be a regular show. I'm just going to pull that up here so you can see it. Look at that, the Spin It Social Hour. And at Spin It Social, Stefan is part of the awesome team we have at Digimentors. We do all kinds of cool and important work around the world, and we are grateful for everybody who is able to be part of that. So he interviewed a fantastic photographer today, Nick Curry, and you can find the archive on his Facebook and also on his other platforms, so do check him out. And he is Stefan Kaplan, and he's checking in from Ramsey, New Jersey, which is really cool. So please tell me where you're watching from. Please tell me what you're up to. Please tag a friend. Please share right now. And I have some exciting news about some events coming up. You're going to see what's happening Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So the first time I've planned that far ahead. So I'm going to be able to tell you who's coming, and you're going to be in for a real treat. Including one of the biggest stars in the world is going to be with us on Saturday. So I'm going to tell you about that in just a minute. But right now, I want you to tag a friend, share with a friend, ask me anything, folks. This is Ask Sree Anything episode. We want to be as helpful as we can. Ashok Sharma is watching. And Kalpana says, I'm in a meditation session with friends from 6 p.m. on. She's in California, technically. Curious to know what you've learned, and certainly look at the archives. Yes, you can find all my shows archived on my YouTube account. And let me just remind you where you can find that. There's my YouTube, youtube.com/Sreenet. We're also live on Instagram. Instagram is Sreenet as well, and you can see that I've got a camera facing this way. so that they can track it. So do check that out. I want to thank Vandana Menon, who is live tweeting. She was also a guest on my show. We'll look back at some shows. We'll talk. We might play some little clips. I'm just so honored that so many of you have shown an interest. We've gone 28 straight days. That is 4 full weeks of shows. But I'm bursting with excitement to tell you about who's coming up and what's ahead for the show, because we are going to continue, and we are going to continue to do this as long as we're in lockdown. And as I like to say, as long as I'm not sick, I will be doing this. I am so honored to have this conversation. So without further ado, first, let me thank our sponsors. The fact that we have any sponsors is a miracle, and we're so grateful to our sponsors for supporting us. So let me show you first our sponsor who is making it possible for us to be on the air. Frontlinefoodtrucks.com. Donate today to support the New York Food Truck Association as it feeds frontline healthcare workers at NYU Langone and other hospitals, and just an amazing project that Bob Goldberg, the president and founder of the New York Food Truck Association, is leading. And it's hashtag Frontline Food Trucks. Food is being donated by La Colombe, Sweet Green, and Chobani, big brands. And this ad is being paid for by an anonymous third-party donor. I'm so grateful to that donor for paying for this ad so that no money is taken away from frontlinefoodtrucks.com. Please donate so they can give food to more hospitals and healthcare workers in New York City. We would love to see them get more money. Frontline Food Trucks. If you like anything I've done in the last few weeks, please join me. Please make a donation. And it's a great way to support the healthcare workers, a great way to support the wonderful folks who are food truck workers, and also to support this show. So I'm very grateful to them. And, you know, the ads are amazingly affordable. And here's what the pricing looks like, right? You can be a sponsor. You can become a sponsor for such little money, as you can see, $75 per show. And we have people who've signed up for next week. So please join us. Take a photo if you like, and just share. Just email me, Sree@Sree.net. We'd love to have you be a sponsor. Maybe you have nothing you want to promote, but you have a charity you'd like to support. What an easy way to support your favorite charity, or an author, or somebody you want to give attention to. These prices are so low and so easy for you to support them. So please do check this out, and please contact me, Sree@Sree.net. We would love to have you join us as we do these ads, as we do the show. I'm learning so much in this very limited time that we've been doing this. So now let me tell you about the show that's coming up on Friday, show coming up on Saturday, and show coming up on Sunday. All amazing folks are coming and being on the show with me, including one of the biggest stars. So just wait for me to tell you about my other shows, the non-COVID-19 call show. That's where also a lot of action happens, and remind you of that on the screen. And you can also please tweet right now or post a comment. Invite a friend, tag a friend, somebody who would benefit from hearing about what's happening. We can talk about the news. We can answer your questions about anything you like. I'd love to talk to you because I'm often distracted by my guests. And today there's no one, just you and me, and we're just going to talk. One of my friends who's been helping me with the show might stop by so that she can maybe help you ask some questions of me, or just ask me questions herself about what I've learned so far. 4 straight weeks of lockdown and 4 straight weeks of this show. And reminder that we're also now on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Sreenet. On Instagram, Sreenet. On YouTube, Sreenet is the address on YouTube where you can get my archives. You can find me on LinkedIn, and just tell me how you're feeling. Tell me where you're watching from. I'm just so happy to have people here and posting their comments. Let's see, Anna says, hello again from Canberra, Australia. Watching this one is one of my daily highlights. How special is that? I am so grateful. I have to take a screenshot of that. And Let's see, I'm going to take a screenshot. You probably heard that screenshot so that I can put it in the materials I'm putting together for this. Ashok says he's keeping well and good. He's watching from India. And Paula says hello from Tallahassee. So that gives me a chance to tell you about my spin-off shows or the other shows I'm doing. Saturdays, I have a spin-off show on WBAI Radio here in New York, 99.5 FM, progressive radio station here in New York City, noon to 2 p.m. every Saturday. It's called Coping with COVID-19, a helpful, hopeful call-in show. And you can join us. I'm doing my third week this Saturday from noon to 2 p.m. We'd love to have you join us for that. You can listen on WBAI.org or just follow me on Twitter, and we'd love to have you there. The hashtag is WBAISREE. I'm so humbled to have a real show. This is kind of my own home-cooked, home-baked show, but that's WBAI, a real radio show. That's the home of Amy Goodman, who you may know from Democracy Now! So Saturdays, noon to 2. The other show is the show that I've been doing for 5 years on Sunday mornings from 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And Paula Kiger is one of our producers, along with Steve Taylor, Neil Parekh, Julia Weeks. We host an amazing global conversation around the print edition of the New York Times. We call it the Sunday New York Times Readalong. And we've been doing that for 5 years now. It's hard to imagine. 5 years, we've had incredible guests over that time. And I know Paula was very excited by our most recent guest, who was Harlan Coben, the New York Times bestselling author, as well as the creator of magical Netflix shows such as Stranger and The Safe. He has more than three shows on Netflix, and the #1 bestselling book in America right now is by Harlan Coben. You can go back in my YouTube archives and watch that on Sunday from last week, so you can see it and you can enjoy that program. It was amazing. Anyone who sees it can tell you that. And that's the first time we've had stars on the show. We've had amazing editors. We went to the home of the print editor of the New York Times in New Jersey. We went to the travel editor of the New York Times in the Bronx, and we interviewed them, did live shows from their house. We did the read-along. We also did the Washington Post read-along and went to the home of deputy editor Mark Fisher and interviewed him there. We did a Washington Post read-along. Why? Why not? So we love what we do with these shows, and we have sponsors for those. For example, Strategy Focus Group, we're so grateful to them. Muckrack is another sponsor, as well as Tweepsmap. And all of these folks make that show possible with 3 producers or more working on that. This is my show by myself. I'm flying by the seat of my pants. I'm live on 4 networks, on 4 platforms, and just winging it here. But I'm so grateful to all of you for being here. We're live on Twitter, live on Facebook, live on LinkedIn, live on YouTube, and now live on Instagram, SreeNet on Instagram, so you can see behind the scenes. You can see how everything is built here. So if you have another tool, you can go back and forth, another phone or something, you can go back and forth. And I'm just so grateful to everybody who is here. And so without further ado, let me tell you what's coming up Friday night, Saturday morning, and on Sunday night. So here we go. I'm just going to pull up the show so you can see that right now. Let's see. So Friday night, we have a Pulitzer Prize winner, a cartoonist named Matt Davies, who's going to join us for a show we're saying You Gotta Smile or You'll Cry, the humor show with cartoonists, comedians, and more. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern. Please join us for that. Take a photo. What a great lineup we have. I'm very proud of this lineup of shows that we've put together, and we'd love for you to share this with your friends around the world. Let them join us. Let them see what we're up to. And then Saturday morning, 9 a.m., I am so excited to tell you that Manisha Koirala will be with us. Manisha is one of the biggest stars in Bollywood, and she's the author of Healed, How Cancer Gave Me a New Life. And we'll talk about life in Mumbai right now and what's happening there, and how she and others in India are living and managing everything that's going on there. And then we have our Sunday night positivity show. Every Sunday, positivity is what we're trying to share with the world. So please tell your friends, please join us as we celebrate what's happening with some of the progress we're making, and we mourn some of the deaths, so many deaths around the world. And it's been now, as I said, 28 straight days as we're doing this show. So let me read some more comments, and then I'll bring on Rose Horowitz, who's been kind enough to live tweet this along with Vandana Menon. And so Rose will kind of ask some questions and be here with us as we try to learn some stuff. Ashok says, he's reading my dad's book, More Diplomacy. I talked to him the other day. Thank you for reading that book. I think I have a copy of it here. And the book is called More Diplomacy. That is Prime Minister Modi's diplomacy through a Shakespearean prism. My dad is a former diplomat, T.P. Srenivasan, who grew up in a village in India and grew up to be a Shakespearean scholar, and made me fall in love with Shakespeare as a little kid. And Ashok is reading my dad's book, which is pretty amazing that he's doing that. And the foreword is written by Pranay Gupte, the first Indian American South Asian to work for the New York Times as a correspondent. Carla Baranakis is joining us from New Jersey. She is the former copy chief of the New York Times, national copy chief of the New York Times. Rick says, will you help share the idea virus, share cope with COVID tips? Will you be willing to discuss this blog with guests on your show? Ask people to share their tips and highlight one cope with COVID tip each show. Great idea. Follow Rick Botello, find him, post his comments. We'd love to have that. Spinit Social says, Sree's all the way live everywhere you look, keeping the world informed. Thank you. That's very kind. Ashok says, I think the Indian government should call on people with proven expertise and capabilities, of whom there are so many in India, to manage his response. Steve Saldivar. Hi, Steve. I'm so happy to see you watching from rainy Los Angeles. Steve's a terrific digital expert, and he works out in LA. Thanks for joining us all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. Outside Atlanta is Joe Appio. Says, saddened to hear about my longtime ABC coworker Sal Capitumino succumbing to COVID-19 yesterday. I'm sorry to hear that. I was a colleague of Joe at the ABC. I did not know Sal, but I'm sorry to hear of his passing and all the lives we've lost around the world, and so many people suffering right now because of COVID-19. Folks, I'm also checking over onto my Instagram, seeing what's going on there. Joe, thank you for being with us. You said once that this show uplifts you. This show uplifts me because of you and everybody who's watching. Thank you so much for being here. By the way, one of my mantras is always be charging, and I want to make sure that my computer is plugged in and charging right now. So I've plugged that in, and you heard that little sound. Let's see who else is with us. Chris Gorman is watching from Manhattan on the east side. I'm in lockdown on the west side of Manhattan. If you know New York City, if you know Manhattan's divided into the east side, the west side, Central Park runs through the middle. I'm on the upper west side, and Chris is on the east side. Steve is saying hi to Chris, and Akruti is watching from Buffalo, says, I'm incredible. No, you are incredible. Thank you for watching. Thank you for what you do. Martin says, are you a believer in meditation? Have you had a guest talking about it? We all need releases of COVID stress. Can you focus on meditation and other relaxation techniques? Well, Sunday we have our weekly COVID-19 positivity show, being positive under COVID-19. We've had a child psychologist. We have had people. We've had a dog therapist. We have all kinds of folks join us. And so if you have a suggestion for any guest, please email me, Sree@Sree.net, especially for our Sunday positivity show. We'd love to have folks. Ashok says he emailed me. I'm sure I got it. Please email me again. We've got so much going on, as you can imagine. And Akruti says, love Manisha's new movie, Maska. That's Manisha Koirala, @M.Koirala, joining us on Saturday morning Eastern time in New York, 9 a.m. Eastern. That's 6:30 p.m. Eastern. In Indian time. And Laura is watching from Philadelphia. Laura, you're amazing. Thank you for everything you do. I am so grateful to everybody for being here. I want to take your questions, but first I'm going to take some questions and some comments from one of my conspirators in these shenanigans, Rose Horowitz, who's been so kind to participate, to live tweet, to co-host the show with me. So please welcome Rose Horowitz 31 who is joining us right now. And here she is. Hi,
Hi.
Rose.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
How are you? Last time we were together, I haven't seen you. It seems like yesterday, but it's actually been almost 10 days since we were together, right?
Yeah,
we were together 2 Saturdays ago, and we did a great conversation around women and leadership and how to, and everybody and leadership. But we had 3 amazing women on the show. We had you, Rose Horowitz, we had Kelly Hui, and we had Rupa Krishnan, who happens to be my wife. The 3 of you talking about leadership and careers and how to survive and thrive and network at this time. I was glad to just kind of step back and watch the 3 of you interact. It was amazing. Please go back in my archives on YouTube and find it, folks. You'll really enjoy it. You will learn a lot, as I did on that show. Please do find it. Rose, how are you doing? Where are you? What are you up to?
Well, we're playing musical offices in our house because we're all online all the time. And so I have one son on an online Broadway show and another son who's been doing classes, and my daughter's been teaching online. So, anyway, so I'm here. I'm in the same spot as the woman to follow. It seems like this the lighting is had some help with lighting from one of my sons. They both do videography.
Your Broadway son, I think, helped you with some lighting.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad you look great. I'm glad you're here. And I just want to thank you for being such an awesome friend. When you saw I was doing this, you jumped in and said, how can I help? And I said, I'd love some help with live tweeting. And you did such great live tweeting along with Vandana Menon that I can show people these crazy numbers. Look at this. We've had 20 million impressions of a pretty ridiculous hashtag, Sree Covid19 call, which even I can't remember. But 5 million plus people have seen the hashtag, and that's a tribute to you and to Vandana, and you're learning to continue to live tweet. I'm learning how to do this. Thank you for supporting me on what we call these digital shenanigans. And we should tell people a little bit about you. You are a journalist, and you're the founder of Women to Follow. So tell us about that, and then we'll take some questions from people. You can ask me some questions. I can't believe it's been 4 weeks, 28 straight days. This is amazing, sad, really complicated for all of us. So I'll let you speak for a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll take some questions and comments.
Okay. Well, I'm a journalist. I started at the AP in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And anyway, so I, in the trenches, it was like sink or swim, at that point. And then I worked for several newspapers and did a lot of investigative reporting. One of my pieces was nominated for a Pulitzer, which was really great, and it actually resulted in a change in legislation in Congress. So that is something I'll always treasure, that it worked to help, and it was about the U.S. Food for Peace program and how some of the middlemen who were involved in the shipping were actually, taking some money in pocket, so less got to Africa. And it was a closed bid. It was a closed bidding process, and the same company kept getting all the bids. And after Congress held hearings, they changed the law, and now it's open bidding for these for the U.S. Food for Peace program. And then I've been, for the last 4 years, since I've known Sree, a journalist friend from Columbia said, "Oh, you have to meet, you have to take a class with Sree," because I had started tweeting and being on social media, and I took some of Sree's social media workshops. I've met great friends who we can bounce ideas off. So shout out to Stephen Kaplan and Tammy Ellen McLaughlin and Tim McDonald and Stacey Kratz, a lot of people, and just I love I think my experience at the AP and just always back in the day you used to call a story and you'd be on waiting for a phone booth at the Plaza Hotel, let's say, and to call in a story to an editor. So the tweeting comes pretty easy to me. So I've been really enjoying helping Sree with the show, because I think it's great to be meeting all the guests through him, finding new guests, and finding, discovering different topics that are all related to this horrible crisis. So.
Well, thank you so much for being here, for being part of our family of online folks as we share and learn together. It's been an amazing ride. We're all learning together. Nobody knows exactly what's happening, so we're all trying to learn. I just want to show you something cool. Joe Appio, who's been on the show with us watching for so many days, his mom, Maria Appio, is watching from Brooklyn, and my dad, TP Sreenivasan, is watching from Kerala in India. So Joe, isn't that amazing that our parents are watching across the world at this moment together, which is really, really great. I want to just remind people we have some great shows coming up. We have on Friday night, we have a show that we're calling You Gotta Smile or You'll Cry, the humor show with Matt Davies, the cartoonist from Newsday, who's a Pulitzer Prize-winning cartoonist. We're going to have comedians and other folks as well join us. And then on Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, Manisha Koirala, one of the great Bollywood stars, is going to join us. And then on Sunday, our regular positivity show. So it's going to be just crowded with folks. And your son came in, I think, to help you with the lighting.
Yes.
Well done, son. We are grateful to you for helping out Mama. Always help Mama, right? Like that's
right. I have another son coming home tomorrow, so we'll be a full house from DC.
Yeah.
He's been self-isolating and thinks we're all having a terrific time here at home, and he's missing something, and we're trying to tell him, no, you're really, you don't want to be here all the time.
One of the things that I want to tell you, Rose, is that I don't know, I can't remember if you had time to be with us when Robin Chase was on, the founder of Carr, and she was on my show a couple of days ago. Yeah, and she is home with 4 adults. She and 3 other adults, her adult children, and that sounds, you've got adult children in the house, not a big deal, but they're all in 1-bedroom apartment, and and so that. Tells you that everybody has a different circumstance, and we should be grateful for what we do have, as I do, that we have our health, and as we think about everyone who's suffering at the moment. But I'm so grateful to everyone who's watching right now. Please tag, please share, please tell your friends that tomorrow night, 9 p.m., so 24 hours from now, we're going to have a humor show. We're calling it You Gotta Laugh, Otherwise You'll Cry episode, and then on 36 hours from now, on Saturday morning, New York time, 9 a.m., we're going to have Manisha Koirala, one of the great Bollywood actresses and an author, is going to join us from Mumbai, talk about life in Mumbai, talk about her book about being healthy. So that's going to be amazing. And then 9 p.m., which is our regular Sunday night positivity show, is going to be also great. So please tag your friends. Please subscribe to me on YouTube right now. Go to YouTube SreeNet so that you can know when I'm live. Also, I wanted to tell you that I have another way in which you can check out what we're doing and learn from what we're doing, and that is a way that we've put together for you to connect with us. And because we're constantly trying to learn, we're trying to see what we can do. And we have a new way of doing that. Let me just pull that up here so you can see it. And what this is our new WhatsApp alert. So if you take your phone right now and you're on WhatsApp, take your phone and point this at that code that you see on the screen, the QR code, and you will be able to get an alert. When I'm live, I will send out a note. It is not a WhatsApp group. It's a one-way alert only WhatsApp list that you will be on, announcement only, and you will then be able to connect with me, and you can try that out. We're just trying different things. Somebody might say to me, why are you doing this at different times? Why isn't it the same time every day? Because two things. One, I know that I can't, I want to give especially our guests the flexibility to come when they're free, because we love having them on, but we want them to come when they're free and able to come. And that's why how we get people like Pulitzer Prize winners and Bollywood stars and all of that, by being flexible. Second, this is an unpaid show. We do have sponsors at the moment, and I'm grateful for them. We're just getting started. I can't afford to pay even folks like Rose and others who want to help doing all of this by myself. We're even experimenting with being on Instagram Live right now. Go to Sreenet and you can see behind the scenes how I put this together on Instagram. I have a phone.
I saw your ring light. I went and saw your ring light on there.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see my ring light, see what we're doing. And that's what the Instagram is for. So just go onto Instagram and you can see how I'm doing this. And I know you, Rose, and others have questions, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So those are the reasons why it's not the same time every day. We're able to do the same time every week with the New York Times Readalong, 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. every Sunday. We have a fabulous author who's going to talk about politics coming up this Sunday at 8:30 a.m. And we have a doctor who's going to be with us, so they can answer your medical questions. We've had we've had 10 plus doctors on this show already, and it's been we're so grateful that those doctors came on and shared their ideas and gave us tips on how to do this. And that's one of the things we do. We try to have as many physicians as possible, and more have signed up and are going to be joining us in the days ahead. So please do join us. Please do tag your friends, let them know about the show. And we love being live and talking to you all. Let's take some of the comments, Rose. Let's see what's happening. Chris says, being home with my daughter, who's 2.5, has been the silver lining. Absolutely. As much as some people are complaining, fact that you're getting to be with your young kids, if you have young kids, is amazing. Chris says, being home with my daughter has been such a wonderful thing to spend all that time with her. Joe says, I'm bringing the world together. Thank you. And Arlene says, Chris, how are things at the Folk Art Museum? That's where he works. And he's talking back. Although we are closed, we're sharing a lot of content online with our collection, exhibitions, and more. So check it out. The American Folk Art Museum, a beautiful museum in New York City. Chris, same thing I said when I got downsized and was home for a year with his son, formed a bond of a lifetime. And that was in the last crisis that we went through. And Stefan says, you got to smile or else you'll cry. No better show to have at this moment. Can't wait. We must maintain some sense of humor and happiness amidst all this craziness. And our friend Bill Swersey is watching. Hey, Bill, joining from my mom's place in upstate Stephentown, New York, where we've been sheltering for the past 3+ weeks. Just finished our second Zoom Passover Seder with family all across the country. Might be a new tradition. And I should say that in times of crises, new things happen, new traditions are formed, new ideas are forged, new businesses are launched, and that will happen in this as well. There's going to be great tragedy and some opportunity for people, and we will certainly be seeing that. And this is a holiday week for many people, Jewish folks, Christian folks. Rose, are you celebrating this week?
We are. We had a Seder last night at home, and we did a Zoom, a call. My son in DC joined us for the part that the service. I have the family Haggadahs from my parents, so it has clip marks, so I didn't have to do too much preparation for what to say. And then we did a Zoom call with my 2 brothers and my nieces and nephew. So we had maybe 8 or 10 people on the call, which was a lot of fun. It's sort of, it makes, I think those things, are a good thing. You're seeing this, if you're fortunate, even if you have your family and you're not alone, you're still seeing the same people. So it's like going to a party if you have a Zoom call and you see people again in your different perspectives, and not everybody is talking in a way about just this. We talked about books and movies and things we're doing, which is fun.
Do you think it will people are going to like the fact that they're able to see people they don't normally see. It's not a holiday like Thanksgiving where people fly across the country necessarily for. So is there a chance that people are going to incorporate this going forward as a small part of their regular Seder? Let's bring in Uncle Jack from wherever. Do you think that's going to happen? Maybe?
I think that could happen. I mean, if you have two families, one on the left, on West Coast and one on the East Coast, you can do that. Or next year, if my son is in college again, at college, we can bring him in, and grandparents can do that. If they're somewhere where they can't travel. I mean, it's pretty neat. It can be a great tool.
Can you talk for a quick second, because we have lots of people who may not be familiar with the Passover holiday. What does that mean to you personally, but also what is the tradition of it? Because there are people who are watching who may not be familiar with it, and we'll connect it, therefore, to this is the second night of the Seder, so you can tell us that, and then that goes into Good Friday and Easter. It's all connected, right? Because the Last Supper was, in fact, a Seder, wasn't it?
It was a Seder. And I did see the original Da Vinci in Italy. It's in a church it's been preserved. Only 5 or 10 people can be in the room at once. Let's see, Passover. We celebrate the freeing of the Jews from being slaves, and Moses led the Jewish people. They were slaves for, I think, 430 years, and Moses, had a staff, and he parted the Red Sea, and supposedly, and the Jews all passed and came free into the land of milk and honey. And the tradition is that families gather and sit at the table and bless. You have 4 cups of wine. You're supposed to recline because there are 4 questions, and one of the questions is, why is this night different from all or wise son, contrary son, simple son, and the son who doesn't know how to ask the question. And usually at the table, the youngest person will ask those questions. And then I guess and then you're supposed to not eat any bread. You're celebrating that when the Jews left Egypt, they couldn't wait for their bread to rise, and so we eat matzah because it's unleavened, and you're not supposed to have in your home really any kind of any bread. It's forbidden. And we belong to a conservative synagogue, but I'd say we're more Reform. And usually during the holiday, I do try not to keep, that we're not having pasta and stuff. But this year, with not being able to go out and get kosher for Passover groceries, we've kind of trying to wing it, but it's not really as what we can usually do, I think. And I don't know if that's true for other families, but I hope that helps. So I think it's really important. I think it had a sort of this year now, one of the things, there are 10 plagues that happened, and one of them, plagues. And so there's the killing of the firstborn, and there's vermin, and you take your cup of wine, you say these 10 plagues out loud. And I think that the important thing about this holiday is that since the Jews, the strength of Jews is to keep celebrating this, and to celebrate that we are no longer slaves. And I guess it gives some perspective, at this time when there is this worldwide plague, which I've never in my lifetime seen this to this extent. I know in Asia they had the SARS, and I remember Ebola, but this is so pervasive around the world that I think it's if people are curious, I think it's important to celebrate this holiday and pay tribute to the freedom that we do have and celebrate it.
I couldn't agree more. Here's Doug saying I had to bake my own matzah because of the time we're in now, right? Otherwise, what is that brand that everybody gets? There's like a store brand, right? Like the
Manischewitz.
Yeah, Manischewitz. You can get that. I want to just say There's also time for me to remember the multiple seders that I've been invited to over time by my Jewish friends and neighbors, including my great friend David Claytel, who passed away 4 years ago now. And David was an amazing dean and professor at Columbia Journalism School. And in fact, I tweeted about him today. Let me see if I can find that tweet. And I made it a point to say to everybody that we should be thanking our mentors when we don't need them. And so let me show you that tweet. I'm just trying to get people to think about their mentors and what all of this means. So let me just show you that tweet I wrote. Folks, tell us where you're watching from. Tell us what you're doing. If you want to see how this is all put together, go right now onto Instagram/SreeNet, and you can see behind the scenes how we put this show together. So this was the tweet I shared, and it says, turbulent times remind us of the value of thanking mentors when you don't need them. Professor David Claytel of Columbia Journal died 4 years ago before I could thank him properly. Each day I'm contacting and thanking mentors for all they've done for me. Please do the same. Thank mentors now is a hashtag I made up. And this is David Claytel. And he died on August 11, 2016. I said, RIP, Professor David Claytel, Vice Dean, New York Jets fan, mentor, friend. He changed my life. He hired me, made me into a professor, taught me how to be a professor, taught me how to be a dad and a husband, and somebody who is able to go out into the world and try to make a difference. And that's all because of David Claytel. So I'm using the hashtag #ThankMentorsNow. And I hope some of you will do that and use that hashtag and get that out there. I would love for more people to do that. Here are some more comments. Chris says, Mark Lee loved the Tar Heel State. Chris is saying hi to Mark. It's on Broadway and 65th Street in Manhattan. That's the Folk Art Museum, which is really cool. And Mark says, on Durham, North Carolina, I was on StreamYard with Tim Sohn earlier today. And Chris says, Arlene Shulman, they are well. I will tell them you asked about them. And Arlene said she had Indian takeout for Passover. And one other thing is, if you can explain the concept of mezuzahs, I will tell you about a funny story about a mezuzah.
Okay. Mezuzah is, you got me. Anyway, it's a sign on your door and it has the biblical prayers on it that identifies you as somebody Jewish. And when you walk into somebody's home with a mezuzah, a Jewish, you're supposed to kiss the mezuzah.
Yeah, and that wasn't that part of the sign that when the sign to God that it was a Jewish home, they were marking it, right, so that they would know when, like, what were the homes not to be damaged when God's wrath came down? Isn't that correct? Yes. So we move into an apartment on the Upper West Side, and it would be fair to say that we were on a floor out of 8 apartments. 7 had mezuzahs on them, and we said, well, we don't want to be the ones without the mezuzah if God's wrath comes down. We're not taking a chance. So we didn't want to put up a mezuzah, so we put up a Ganesh, a God Lord Ganesh, on the door. So we had one in the exact same spot that you put a mezuzah. We still have it. My friend Hemali brought it to us from India, and we've had it there. And we feel so connected to Jewish people, not just on these holidays, but they're just such wonderful people who've gone through a lot. And as much as anybody complains about what we're going through now, think about the families in World War II. And what happened in the Holocaust. Just, there is no comparison. And it should give us ideas about resilience and how we fight back and stay strong. And as Ashok Sharma points out, in Kerala, where my parents are watching right now, and there is a town called Cochin, and there is a sect of Jewish people called the Cochin Jews. And one of the oldest synagogues outside of the Middle East is in Cochin, in the unfortunately named Jewtown, which is what it's called, like Chinatown, Jewtown, and there are signs there for it. And a lot of those Cochin Jews are no longer in Cochin. They moved to Mumbai and then moved to Israel. But Ashok says we have Jewish quarter in Cochin, and we have a synagogue there. We had a family friend, Esther, who is a botany professor and later principal of a leading women's college here. So I don't know if Rose, if you knew all of this, but
at my synagogue, the cantor brought in somebody from, I'm not sure what, but very few, maybe 10 Jews still in the town, but it had been a place where Jews were trading and were merchants, and they sang some songs. They did the songs that we would sing for Shabbat. They did their version of it, which was really cool. So where we're living now, we had one of those ganaches on our door. And we
you do a Ganesh. You have a Ganesh on your door. Very good. He's the remover of obstacles, right? So that's a good bet to do that. I think I have a Ganesh here. No, that's not a Ganesh. I have a Hanuman. This is Lord Hanuman, who is the monkey god. One of the mistakes people make is thinking Ganesh is the elephant god. He's the elephant-headed god, because the story is that what happened, he was a human. He was a child, and in an accident, which is too long a story to get into now, Lord Shiva, who is the destroyer and the very powerful god, accidentally severs his head. And you thought the Old Testament was full of stories of violence, and he tells his people, go out and find me the first head you can to replace the head that this boy, my son, has lost. And so they go out and they find an elephant and bring his head. So they put the elephant's head on this boy. And so he's actually a boy with an elephant's head. And that's the story of Ganesha. But when you look at him, you think he's an elephant, but he's not. He's an elephant-headed god. Bill Swersey says, last night I joined more than 150 people on Zoom for a Seder with Rabbi Marcelo Bronstein, who is currently in Costa Rica. I'd say 80% of people were all alone. So Zoom really was a godsend for them. One wonderful use of that word, godsend there. Thank you. Twyla says the Cochin Synagogue is beautiful and tiny. Tim Sohn is watching. Just finished the Family First show. He's got a live streaming show. He was the first sponsor, Rose, of our show here, as you know.
I know.
He gave me our first money. I'm so grateful. Bruce Springsteen says he never forgot the person who paid him his first $10 to play music and made him a professional musician. Tim's money made this show professional, and we hope to get enough money so that we can
I mentioned that in the comments, and Tim wrote back to me, thanks to Sree's show, that he had 30 people, I think, join his live streaming course, which is amazing.
Twyla said, thank you. Twyla says maybe this is, you could make a pun on like this Middle Eastern word. You could have Ganush, which is Ganesh. Middle Eastern Ganesh is a Ganush, and Baba Ganush. And Team Sohn is planning a virtual Easter dinner. What do you eat in a virtual Easter dinner? Virtual ham, maybe? I'm not sure. And Ashok says he'd like to be on our positivity show. Write to me. We'll see if we can figure that out. Mark is talking and sharing, and Stefan's sharing. And it's a great, lively conversation about balancing work and life. They use sound effects. We'll have the 100 sound effects app. I got to check that out. Renee Edelman's watching. Renee's a great supporter of the show and everything we're doing here. We have about 10, 15 minutes left. The hour has flown by, Rose. So if people have questions or comments, this is your chance to talk to me and to Rose, ask a question. We're just hanging out. It's been 7 days times 4, 28 straight shows. If you're just joining me, we have some incredible shows coming up. I just want to show you all of them. Right now, we have coming up Pulitzer Prize winning cartoonist Matt Davies is going to be on our humor show with cartoonists, comedians, and more. The great Bollywood actress, rock star actress Manisha Koirala is going to be with us 9 a.m. Sunday. So about 35 hours from now, please mark your calendars. Please join us. And then our Sunday night positivity show, every Sunday night, positivity, 9 p.m. Eastern. And don't forget my other shows, my spin-off show on Saturday, Coping with Covid-19, a helpful, hopeful call-in show, WBAI Radio in New York, 99.5 FM, and globally on WBAI.org, a real, true call-in show. And on Sundays, we have the New York Times Readalong, read the print New York Times with guests and doctors. This time we have another great doctor who's going to join us, as well as the opportunity for you to meet and hear from an author who's written a very important political book. But we want you to see that and share that with the world. So please do join us. And let me take the branding off here so that I can ask Rose if she has any questions, if you wants to share. What have you learned doing this, Rose? You've been with me for most of the 28 days. So what have you learned, and why did you decide to jump on
I thought
this?
I was going to ask you questions. Wait a minute.
Sure.
What have I learned? I've learned a lot about different aspects of of COVID, and I thought it was fascinating when you did the show live from Italy, in the midst of when Italy was in the midst of the worst of it. And, I've connected with some great child psychologists, and I have some ideas for stories that I want to pursue. And just, it's incredible, that the range of, people you have, that the people watching from Brooklyn and from Kerala is terrific.
Yeah.
And, it's a little, I guess maybe it is a stressful time, and maybe sometimes because I am reading all the news, sometimes I have a novel that I started, that I'm reading, and sometimes it's good to just go in that space and, shut out everything else, but not too often. So let me ask you, Sree.
Sure.
What would you say? What date did you start the show? Because I know I joined maybe a week into it, but what made you decide to start this broadcast?
Well, thank you. That's a question that I may ask myself for the rest of my life. What did I promise? Why did I do this? And the reason is that we did this because of I've been doing versions of this since 2001, since the 9/11 crisis. I've not been a regular journalist, really a kind of daily reporting journalist since I was a kid. In 2021, I got my first byline at 16 at a newspaper in Fiji, where I went to high school, and I wanted to be a daily reporter, and I was one while in college, working 40 hours a week while going to college in India. Then I came to America, and then I came back to America, and then I became a reporter, a professor. And so I realized that in times of trouble, first responders go in, thank God for them, doctors go in, nurses, firefighters, they all go in. And then another group that goes in that direction while everyone is running are journalists. And we need journalists on the ground. We need them to do the reporting. They're amazing. They change the world with their journalism. And we know how painful it is to hear the President of the United States to call journalists the enemy of the people. But I also learned back at 9/11, there is a role for journalists who are not in the field, but are curators and pointers and doing things online to help shape where things are and giving people true, accurate information. So we did that back in 9/11 around things like blogs and websites, and this was before social media. Then came the 2004 tsunami. You remember the Christmas, post-Christmas Day tsunami, and we used it. And then came Katrina. So in all of these times, we jumped in and we helped people with that 2008 crisis in the United States. We also had the Fukushima. I covered entirely via Facebook. I started a Facebook note and a Facebook page, and people just from around the world found it so helpful. Japanese journalists were using that to share, and it was in a book about what happened in the crisis, my little Facebook effort. And I learned how important it is to have this role. It's a small role, but it's something that journalists can do. And then came social media. And we had these in 2008. We also had the Mumbai attacks, the very sad Mumbai attacks during Thanksgiving week. And I had the privilege of using Blog Talk Radio, a kind of proto podcast, live, sort of like this, but only audio. And we were live on the air for 18 hours over the weekend that all of this happened. Over Thanksgiving, we got written up in the LA Times, and all kinds of NPR did stories on what we were doing, was going live to Mumbai, talking to journalists there, talking to experts here. And I learned the power of that So when this happened, this is my effort. So it's trying to learn the technology along the way, and each of us participating, and we can't do it ourselves. We need people to watch. We need people to us, ask questions, share. And those are all things so grateful to everybody. And one other thing I would say, that this is part of my effort that I'm calling work on something. Work on something. All of us, for better or worse, have more time on our hands. We have things like, because we're either not working as much, we're not commuting, we've lost our jobs, we all have something. You have a novel, other people have other analog things. Great, do those analog things, but there's also a great time to do something on digital, because the world will support you. Your bumbling, fumbling first steps will be not noticed at all. And so if you have a blog idea, you have a video idea, you have a YouTube idea, whatever it is, work on it. People like me and others will help you. So this is my idea, that I wanted to do this. And I want to learn 3 things along the way on this. So one is how to do multi-platform streaming on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. By the way, I have 1 minute and 10 seconds left on the Instagram Live. Only lasts an hour. This Facebook lasts a lot longer. So if anybody wants to just check it out, you have 60 seconds to go to Instagram/Sreenet and see what it looks like behind the scenes right here. You can see my ring light, and you can see the rest of the operation right here. If you go on there, and please connect with me, Sreenet, on Instagram. So that was one thing I wanted to learn. Second, I wanted to learn how to do Canva. Canva is a wonderful, important tool for image editing, not image editing, but image creation, for any kind of assets, infographics, etc. Let me just show people what we're talking about. And that's what I use to build all our online promos. And so this is what it looks like. And so I wanted to learn this. And these are all the designs that I have created, ads and things like that, that I was able to put on. And I want to learn how to do this. It has got great templates. So you go in here and it's got 50,000 templates. So you want to say, you want to create a Facebook post, a social media, Instagram stories. It has the exact size you need for all of those things. And that's why I wanted to learn. And you can see all my designs here. And I'm using the free account.
I see how they've evolved. Sree, I see how they've evolved. I see how the designs have evolved from the very beginning when you announced your Sree COVID. And I think I said, well, maybe I can, we can play around with, but then, you came up with, you just got better at it. I've learned about it from you, and I've used it for my Women to Follow, and for, for creating sometimes quote boxes and things like that of what different women are saying.
No, absolutely. And that's so important. We also were able to celebrate this day, my friend Andrew Lee's birthday. We had a Zoom call, and we made this little HBD Fuzzheado, that is his Twitter handle, and we were able to do something with that. And so this is all part of our process of learning this tool, getting better at it as we go along. Designs evolve, as you said, but we can also have some fun. And I wanted to show people something to do with my dad and my son, and all of that. I did that, and we use it for our New York Times Readalong and all kinds of things. I also have this, you can't quite see it, but this is over here, this green one is me learning how to use Instagram from the co-founder of Instagram, Mike Krieger. So he's talking and sharing Instagram tips with me. So all of this is to say, I want to learn Canva. And finally, I wanted to learn how to use YouTube properly. I've obviously, all of us are on YouTube as consumers, but can we be on YouTube as creators was the question. And the only way to do that is to work on it. So I'm saying to all of you, pick something and work on it, and it will make you better and stronger in your digital skills. So I'm just going to go on to YouTube and just go to youtube.com/Sreenet so that people can see what we've been doing on this channel here. Just coming up, there you go. And you can see that's you. We're live now on this. We have, we had a few hundred followers. It's not a lot of followers. I have 10 to 100 times more followers on other platforms.
Yes.
But why do I still do this? Because this is a moment where a lot of all kinds of important things on. I wanted to learn how to do that. How can I help my clients if I'm not familiar with it? So that was one reason. And another was I wanted to see.
Add that after our Woman to Follow edition, that I think the next day or maybe 2 days after that, Kelly Hoey, who wrote the book Build Your Dream Network and has a podcast, she decided to use StreamYard, and she's doing a live show every day with different guests using StreamYard. And so you're inspiring people, which is great.
Oh, thank you. And she was wonderful. Thank you for bringing her onto the show. And I want to tell anybody who's watching, we are looking for guest ideas. If you have an idea for a guest, anybody in the world, everybody has a story. Everyone's interesting. We just have to find the right mix and places to bring them. But look who we have. We've got a humor show at 9 p.m. tomorrow. We have 9 a.m. Saturday morning, Manisha Koirala, huge Bollywood star. And then 9 p.m. Sunday is our positivity show. So we're looking for ideas. We want to work with you. We want to hear your thoughts on how we can do this stuff better. We love sponsorship help. Our sponsor rates are ridiculously cheap because we want you to be able to afford an ad on our show. So please help us out and support us and support great causes. You may have somebody you want to support, a nonprofit you love. For $75, you can get an ad on our show, just as an anonymous donor was able to do by getting an ad on my show. They paid for this so that Frontline Food Trucks, go right now to frontlinefoodtrucks.com. The New York Food Truck Association is creating food and taking it to the hospital workers at NYU Langone. And it would be great for you to donate. Their food is donated by La Colombe, by Sweet Green, by Chobani. And this ad was donated by an anonymous third party who wanted to support me, but also support the healthcare workers and support the Frontline Food Trucks. That's a 3-for-1 shot. So you can do that by going to Frontline Food Trucks and supporting all of us right now by making a donation, no matter how small, because we would welcome that. And I know the money matters and it makes a difference. So do support us in that way. Let's take a couple more comments. We're at 10 o'clock. It's been an hour. We've had a very busy day. My dad says he's watching the developments at the UN Security Council. It's a very big story, and that's important. Arlene says, let me guess, your favorite color is purple. It really is. I love purple. It drives some of my friends crazy who have a better aesthetic taste than me. I should tell you, my great friend Andrew Lee, whose birthday was this week, he says, we used to see when we used to teach together, early days of technology and typefaces and all of that. We can teach you the tools. We can teach you the technology. But the third T, we cannot teach. Can you guess, Rose, what that third T is? We can teach you technology. Taste. That's right. We can teach you. We can't teach you taste. We can teach you tech. We can teach you tools. We can't teach you taste. I love purple, and I love how it looks with white. I like how the black and white looks. Hey, it's my show. I get to decide, right? Like that's be your own boss with those kinds of things is what we're saying. Twyla says good night. Twyla's been an amazing supporter of us. Frightening to see the deep divisions there, even in an hour of calamity. There's the UN Security Council. It's so sad that they are not stepping up as much as they could at this time. And Renee says, Rose Horowitz stepping. Yes, guest ideas to come, Renee. Thank you for that. Rates might be cheap. Show is helping to raise funds for frontlinefoodtrucks.com. That's right. So please join us if you can. Just drop me an email, Sree@Sree.net. We want to work with you. We want to help you help other people. We're so grateful. One thing I do want to say as a Facebook writer says that everyone has time on their hands except essential workers. You're absolutely right. They depend on others to support us. You help us keep some sense of normalcy, and you also help us stay positive. Thank you for what you do. This show has been a lifesaver for me personally. I am so touched. I don't want to cry, but I would cry by just saying thank you for sharing that. Thank you for watching every night we're here, day doesn't, we're going to be here different times of the day and night. And before we go, I'm going to show you a couple of tricks so that you can stay in touch with us and also learn how to use these tools in maybe better ways than you're doing that. We have some good ideas coming up for next week, and I know Rose is helping me with one of those ideas. We have 17 comments over on LinkedIn. If I had more producers, I'd be able to do more stuff here. I would really appreciate that. Kathleen's watching and says, from New York City, thank you for doing this. Aku is watching from Houston. Kathleen says, love calling in the story, Rose. Love that you did that. So many great comments. Sheila says, Sheila says, I like you, but please take me off your list on LinkedIn. You know, there is no list. You are just watching because it's a notification. And that tells you something, Rose, that people, you know, don't necessarily understand how all this stuff works. Side says, do you have a calendar of your shows? I did show that. I'll show it to you again. Renat is watching from Vegas. You're always so inspiring. Thank you. In wet, brisk LA, says Aparna. And Been Forever, says Greg, nice to see you. And Julian, when you'll find the time. So this is all part of this mixed up, confusing part of the digital space that we're in. We completely understand. Rose, I know you have lots of questions for me, so you can certainly ask me anything before we go. Let me just see if somebody here else is commenting. Ashok says, Kerala has a unique women empowering Kudumbashree managing community kitchens and organic farming initiatives. That's awesome. So maybe tell Rose Horowitz some of the stories of women who are doing amazing things so that she will know about them. And if she knows about them, she will tell the world. She is awesome about that. And remind us, Rose, about women to follow. What is that hashtag? What is the benefit for people who join the hashtag? What do they learn?
I try to share. If I just Google today, I think doctors who are expert on COVID, and I think out of 20 names, I maybe saw 2 women. So what happens is that men reporters, male reporters, indeed, I saw a study, 62% of men retweet and follow other men, but in this study, the same was true for women. And I put out a tweet that said, let's get this Twitter party started. I'm going to name 3 women to follow. And I, made it the hashtag and asked, and asked several, friends in different fields, like from cartoons, from art, like Liza Donnelly, to other people. And suddenly, it became a trend. And it just, because there is a need for women, you want to, the idea is to amplify women's voices. And so we have a list that my friend Stacey Kratz at Hey Kiddo has been keeping. And we have, I think it's probably 2,000, but I think we have to update it. So it's like 1,600 on that list. So when you want to find a woman in a certain field, you can go to that list. I mean, we're not the only ones curating it. And then I followed it by doing profiles of different women. And so my first was Soraya Shemley, who is head of the Women's Media Center in DC, and was just about to come out with a book called Rage Becomes Her. And my last profile that I did one on a really brilliant attorney, brilliant law professor at University of California, Irvine, who has just written a book about pregnancy, about women being like in prison, being shackled, and the lack of respect. And it's out, but unfortunately, I think my profile and I did my profile so it would come out as her book was released, but that was the week that everything, in mid-March, that everything exploded. So if you go to my profile, you'll see I have a pinned tweet. It's a profile of Michelle Goodwin, who's the attorney that I'm talking about. So I try to find women that, we all know Michelle Obama. I've read her, her book, and it's fantastic. But there are lots of women in different fields that we don't know about. And that, so the idea is to keep sharing these great stories. So I'm welcome. Just, find me on Twitter. And if there's a story about these women doing something fantastic in India, I'd love to know. And anybody who has great stories. I saw that there's a new publication called The 19th, and they did a profile. They teamed up with Philadelphia Inquirer and maybe Pulitzer Center helped them, and they did a profile of the first woman pastor at a church in Philadelphia, and how she's pivoted to be doing online and has the child in her own home. So there are a lot of great stories to tell, and that's what I've been trying to do.
Thank you for doing that. Rose, you have a question or a comment before we go? I also want to remind people of all our shows. So while you ask the question, I'm going to show people the shows that are coming up.
Well, I'm not seeing the stream of questions, but I'll bet that a question from everybody is, can you tell us your secret, Sree? I know that when you did the social media weekend, you did that for 12 hours. The next morning at 8:30, you were doing your New York Times read along. And then that night at 7, you were doing your positivity as you were preparing a new show for WBAI. So I guess, is there something that keeps you sane and allows, can you talk about how you manage? Rupa might have, another answer. I don't know.
Yeah, Rupa. First of all, the answer is Rupa and the kids who are so generous to me and let me do these shenanigans. But also everybody here who is participating. You give me energy. You give me fuel to do this. Somebody said this is a lifeline for them. This is a lifeline for me. We've been locked up 28 days. Rose, you know me. I love nothing better than being with people. I love my family of 4 and our dog, but they're all the people I see when we go out. I'm a hugger, as you know. I love being with people. By the way, one of the things I always say is that it's stupid to plan, but you should. It's stupid because things may change. We announced, we started planning my 50th birthday, which is in October. We sent out the first save the dates in October of 2019. And I invited, I just want to have a party for 3 days of just big bash. And Rupa said no. She loves intimate dinners with meaningful conversation. She doesn't love the big Sree bash with lots of people. We have a party here at our house every Diwali that has 300 people over a full day, a 10-hour open house. So I miss people, and this is my way of connecting with you. Rose, I feel more connected to you now than I did when we used to see each other every month or so. Now we're seeing each other almost every day. We're connected. That's the magic of this. I'm calling my mentors and thanking them, all of this. So I have no secret. My secret is all of you and my family and people who support us, who give me fuel for this. The part of the reason I'm doing this is to model not good behavior, but model behavior that can help you learn something, learn some technology, try things. It doesn't have to be perfect. And this show is far from perfect. You want to see a perfect show, join us 8:30 a.m. Sundays for the New York Times Read Along, where we're 3 professionals, producers who make the show happen. And that's what this is. Me. You also notice I'm looking away because I'm looking and picking up questions and things like that. So none of this is a tribute to me. All of it is a tribute to you and everyone who watches, everybody who emails me, everyone who tweets, all of you, and my ridiculous hashtag that we use, all of it fuels me to doing what we're trying to do. The people are responding to you, and Stefan says, Sree Secret is the social media energizer bunny. This is a Easter pun joke, humor, right? Renee says she misses people too. Renee is an ultimate people person. Yeah. And Stefan says that Sree's and Rupa's Diwali parties are legendary. You can Google them and find articles in New York Social Times. And you one, so you've seen that, so you know. Mark says, was traveling with a friend and saw a bunny moving with 3 quick bounds across the city street. I know that I think about the Energizer Bunny. It's a good symbol for Sree. The bunny I saw was as fast as Sree was on his shows. What amazing people. I'm so grateful to all of you. You can do me a couple of favors right now. Number 1 is tell your friends about the show, the lineup we have for a holiday weekend. We have an amazing lineup. Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. You gotta smile or you'll cry. Matt Davies, Pulitzer Prize winning cartoonist, is going to join us. Also, we're booking some comedians, and some surprise guests. So please join us Friday, 9 p.m. If you have a nomination, maybe you're funny yourself and you should join, but most likely you're not funny enough to be on the show. But you have
my husband's Sree. My husband's a comedy writer.
Oh yeah, please, yeah. So please make sure you send me some ideas, and we'd love to have them Friday 9 o'clock. Let's, we can have 6 people on the show at a time, so bring them on. And then Saturday 9 a.m. Nothing makes me more happy than to tell you that one of the biggest Bollywood stars in the world, Manisha Koirala, is going to be joining us. She and her millions of fans are going to love this show. We're going to talk about her work as an actress, her new movie, and the book she has authored, Healed: How Cancer Gave Me a New Life. So please join us 9 a.m. on Saturday. The funny thing is
that I connected with her through Woman to Follow, and we exchanged some direct messages like maybe a year ago. So I'm very excited to see her, and maybe I can ask her if she'll do an interview with me.
Oh, I'm sure she'd love that. That would be really awesome. So please do ask her. And then 9 p.m. Eastern, we have ours every night, every Sunday, Positivity at 9 p.m. because we all need to be more positive as we're going through all of this, even as we see all this tragedy. The other thing you can do for me is to go on to your WhatsApp right now. If you're on WhatsApp, point your WhatsApp at the screen right now by pointing your phone, your iPhone camera at it, point it, and you will be able to subscribe to my special WhatsApp alerts that I've just set up just for all of you. And you'll get an alert when I'm live. So you'll know when our big stars, we have the Wall Street Journal editor-in-chief coming up in the next few days. We have some amazing, Lockhart, the former press secretary to Bill Clinton, is going to be here. He's going to be amazing. We have an epic series of shows coming, so please join us. But this is what you do. Take your iPhone and point the camera, or if you're on Android, point your QR code reader or the Google Lens at the screen, and you will get an alert. I know Rose did this yesterday. Jonathan did this yesterday. It was really cool that you can do that. And then the final thing you can do for me, everybody, is to go on to YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube account. I'm trying to learn how to do YouTube. I'm trying to help people use YouTube. So please go on to YouTube. Sreenet is my YouTube name. Connect with me there. And of course, please, if you know anyone who can buy an ad on the show, please do that so that I can hire freelance producers and I can pay people like Rose who have been so kind to us on the show. Look at the kind of reach we get, folks. Look at this number. 5 million people have seen my ridiculously bad hashtag, 20 million impressions of our hashtag. So please share this with your friends and family. This is your show. You can help us by sharing that. Take a picture of this, write it down. I'm also proud, Rose, to tell you that more than 60% of my guests have been women, and I continue and hope to keep that number going. And I need your help and others as well to make that possible. All shows should have 60% women because too many shows have 0% women. Let's just see very quickly who's here. Courtney Pulitzer says, Jennifer Torpy-Zakali is hysterical from her work at home. Please, Courtney, I'd love to have her. Would you connect us, please? That would be great. So glad I landed here. Courtney is amazing. We've digital star. We're really proud of her. Courtney says she missed my QR code, so I'm going to show it again. Here it is on the screen, so you can take a look. Let me remove your screen there, so you can just take a picture of that with your phone, point it at it. You know, Americans aren't good at QR codes, but I know, Courtney, you would be good at it. So here's a giant version of the QR code. Rose, you also come on the side. Just turn, come to your screen. There, no, the other way. The other way. There you go. No, just lean over. Just lean over. Just lean over. Like that. There you go. Hey, look at that. That's pretty cool, folks. Take a selfie or take a screenshot of this. That's pretty cool that we're able to do that. And that will allow you to get a WhatsApp alert. We're not putting you in a group. We're just helping you with that. And Courtney says she will connect us. Courtney Pulitzer is awesome. So please do connect and follow. Let me let you take that photo again, Rose, So when you post it, people can take a photo of the QR code that way, which is pretty cool. Rose, we need your face in a little more. And close those fingers so we can see your face. There you go. I love that. Joe says purple is a Lenten color. That is awesome. I love that. It's a Lenten color. Color for Lent. What did you give up for Lent, folks? If you're watching, being Hindu, we're not asked to give up much. So we gave up going out. We go up twice a day for our dog. Our dog is doing our part. The.Tara on Instagram, the.Tara. Follow her on Instagram. She used to go for 4 walks a night. She's now going 4 walks a day. She's going 2 walks. Last thing I want to tell you about Tara and all of this is that we are learning so much about resilience. We're learning so much about how New York can come together, how people can fight through this. And I will be eternally grateful. I also love that my dog smells. What? Why do I love that my dog smells? Because one of the first signs that you have COVID could be that you lose your sense of smell. And so I'm going to show you the tweet I did earlier today. It's a tweet I did before of just thanking my dog for smelling, because I just take a deep breath every day of her to know that that I don't have COVID yet. These are some of my tweets going by. As you can see, there's way too many tweets. I'm just trying to find that dog one. But even if I don't get to it, I just want to thank you all for connecting with me, following with me. There's my buddy Andrew. And by the way, that's Kelly LeBrock of the movie Weird Science. And if you told Andrew Lee when he was 16 years old or 15 years old in 1985 that he would get to meet Kelly LeBrock, the actress, as an adult, he would have certainly fainted. And that's what social media can do. It can connect you. It can bring you together, as it has done for so many people in so many ways. And we're just so grateful. And here's a Rose tweet.
I wanted to say something. I learned on Facebook that Marie Ponceau, who was my great mentor since college, she was my creative writing professor. And this is her collected book, and she won a National Book Prize one year for her book. And she lived to be 98 and has 7 children, and wrote many of the Golden Book, translated many French fairy tales in the Golden Book series that we read, and a great poet. And I learned on Facebook from one of her sons that her oldest daughter, Monique, has COVID.
Oh, so sorry.
And so I'm just, I've reached out to her daughter to say how's she doing, and she hasn't been hospitalized, at this point. But, it just, it's terrible how, so I just want to wish her and say a prayer for Monique Ponceau, who's the oldest daughter of Marie, who brought her mother, I think when Trump was elected, Penn held a rally for writers, and Marie Ponceau at 96 was there with Monique. Brought her. She was bundled up, and she was supposed to be reading on the steps of the New York Public Library, and they somehow didn't get to her, but she stayed the whole time in the car. It was
oh my God! It would have been January, right? It was
January.
Probably Women's March. Yeah,
it was inaugurated. Incredible woman. So I invite you all to read her poems. And I've also been part of.
Would you mind reading a poem? Would you mind reading one of her poems? Let me just set that up for you, folks. If you're watching right now, this is our dear friend Rose Horowitz reading from Marie Ponceau's collection of poetry. And Marie is 98, and her her eldest daughter, Monique, has COVID. And so we're sending good thoughts to the Ponceau family. Please remind us the spelling of Marie so people can look her up, Rose. And tell us the poem you're going to be reading. Whenever you're ready, take your time.
Okay. I have most of her, page 240 on this book. And her spelling of her name is Marie Ponceau, Ponsot. And she was raised in in Jamaica Estates or Jamaica, but she married a French painter, Claude Ponceau.
Jamaica Estates is where President Trump was born and raised, wasn't he?
Yes. I think they were neighbors. So she's just a terrific, amazing woman. In fact, I guess for her last birthday, which was April 6th, a year ago, she was still alive, and her son put on Facebook a video, and she had stroke, so she had aphasia and she couldn't say what she wanted, which for a poet like Marie, who, is a master of words and voracious reader, she, it was just terrible. I remember calling her and she said, I used to know 300, I knew 300 poems by heart, and now it's only 150. So, and she fed all her children. So I'm going to read a poem called Old Mama Saturday. From here. Okay. It's called Old Mama Saturday. Saturday's child must work for a living, is the quote. And it starts with a quote. I'm moving from Grief Street. Taxes are high here, though the mortgage is cheap. The house is well built, with stuff to protect that matter to me, the security. These things that I mind, aren't mine. I mind minding them. They weigh on my mind. I don't mind them well. I haven't got the knack of kindly minding. I say, take them back, but you never do. When I throw them out, it may frighten you, and maybe me too. Maybe it will empty me too emptily and keep me here asleep at sea, under the gilt quilt, under the yew tree. So,
wow, that's amazing. How did you discover her? And tell us again about her daughter. Lots of new people are here, so tell us about that.
Okay. I was an English major in college at Queens College, in part of the CUNY system. And I took a creative writing class, and Marie Ponceau was the teacher. And she's maybe 5'1", 5 feet or so. But when she spoke, she just radiated so much energy and was so eloquent. And she was tough, I think I had an A average or something. And I took her class a second time, creative writing class, because she was so amazing. And my mother said, oh no, don't take her class. I think she gave you a B+ instead of an A. But I did. And I just always kept in touch with her. After I left college, she was a mentor. I came back to Queens College to speak about being a journalist. And I think, I saw her there, and then we would meet. I was living still in Queens, and before I had children, and we'd meet at a place called the Garden of Eating, and we'd have a coffee, and I would tell her I was going to Japan and what that was like, and she was always interested in these stories, and she'd also sometimes pass me, a folded note, and a typed poem thing. And now I told her daughter, that I know she's archiving her work. It's going to be at Emory University, and that I want to, I've been saving those things to give her for the archive. And then it turned out, odd, fun way, that when I met my husband, he was at Queens College a few years before me, and she was his creative writing teacher. He took her class too. And so she had a whole perspective on what he was like as a student, which was like partly, he's very creative, but doesn't really say he likes to read Shakespeare or something like that. So if she gave an assignment on Shakespeare, he'd do a parody of Shakespeare. And and just so much energy. So it was really interesting. So when he wrote some of his children's books, he was a writer for the Rosie O'Donnell show, and wrote his first children's book. And she came to a reading at the JCC on the West side. And she, so over the years she's met all of us, she met all my kids, and I don't know, it's just so, she's just she's such a wise person. And I think, Sree, when you were maybe working for the city of New York and you were interviewing different people, I think I suggested, you should go interview her.
Yes, I remember. I wish I had. And this is one of the things that, your regrets on things you didn't do. We lost, thanks to COVID-19, we lost the great chef Floyd Cardoz, who created Tabla. He won Top Chef Masters. He is in the second season of Ugly Delicious with David Chang, who created Momofuku, the Indian episode. Please check out Ugly Delicious and that episode, the India episode in season 2. He's there, and we were supposed to work on a social media and food event together, and I'd love to work on that. This, we'll all have regrets in life, but let's call our friends. I'm randomly calling friends without making appointments.
I just want to show you something else. So as a tribute, once Marie turned, this is a portrait of her by I know the artist is he's wonderful. Just getting his name at the moment. Anyway, I will look it up. But when she turned 90, a group of, she had hundreds and thousands of, not hundreds of thousands, but thousands of people over the years that studied with her, because when she stopped teaching at Queens College, she still taught at NYU and the 92nd Street Y and the New School. So a group of poets started for her birthday when she turned 90. We've been creating a chapbook for her. And everybody includes a poem. And people from the former poetry editor of the New Yorker, and I studied one class with I couldn't believe that Marie was reading with the poet Sapphire, who wrote the book that led to the movie Push. Because they just seem so, but I think she took class with Marie and they became good friends. So she's in several of these, anthologies, and I have poems in them. And this week, I read one of it's National Poetry Month, but I think it was, a poet she's in maybe the Ukraine or in Eastern Europe. She started a hashtag, which is why, hashtags are really a great thing when you get a good one. And she started one called International Poetry Center, and different, now I think over 1,000 people have recorded themselves reading one of their poems and sharing it on this, and she created, now I think she has a page as well, but from all over the world are sharing, either poems that they've written or poems that they love. And so the other day I recorded one of my poems I read one of my poems from this book, and through the Woman to Follow, somebody started a thread called Divas. And I thought, like, what are we really talking about? But then we had a Zoom call around Christmas, and we did a Secret Santa exchange. So one of the women, I think she's in Poland, and she sent me a book of poems translated of a famous Polish poet. So it's just great to in a different world, but I'm glad that we all paid tribute to Marie. And her birthday was April 6th, and this poetry reading was in June, and she made it. She was there, even though I think she had been sick. And she sat and listened to everyone's poems, and it was all for her. And she died 3 weeks later.
Oh my God! What an amazing thing! And I'm so glad you were able to do that. Someone asked you to spell her name again because they didn't catch it. So if you can hold up the book so they can see it very clearly. Yes. It's Marie Ponsot, and her daughter has the Ponsot, a little bit higher and a little bit. Turn it. No, this way. This the other way. There you go.
We're television free.
There you go.
Okay.
Had collected poems, and her daughter unfortunately has COVID-19, her eldest daughter, and so this was in tribute to her. And
her only daughter. She had one girl. and then 6 boys.
You talked about hashtags, so I just put up my link to my TEDx videos. One of my TEDx videos was all about hashtags, and I called it the underappreciated humble hashtag. And speaking of heroes, at that TEDx, which was down at the Poynter Institute in Florida, the awesome David Carr was preceded me, and he spent the first 2 minutes criticizing me and others who spend too much time on social media. And it was a life highlight for me that he did that. And he said, you go to these conferences and you're looking down on your phone and listening, but the most important social media is the person next to you. Talk to that person instead of just tweeting all of that. But David unfortunately died, as you know, amazing writer and inspiration for so many. His book, The Night of the Gun, is an incredible book that everybody should read. He taught so many of us so much about writing and everything else. And you can find that if you go to my YouTube channel, if you just Google me and hashtags. I did old TEDx on it. That's how much I care about this. People are recommending others for poet moments. So maybe we can do, Rose will plan this in the next couple of weeks. Let's pick a Friday night and just do a poetry night. I think that would be really amazing. I can
certainly help you get some good poets. Yeah.
I also want to show you a couple of things before we go. One is, this is what we call a tumbler in India. This is a steel tumbler. This is how many millions of people, hundreds of millions of people, instead of a glass, they have this at home to just drink. And Rupa loves these. It reminds her of her childhood in the city of Chennai in India. And so we have, a dozen of these, and we use them. And they're steel, so they're pretty good. I also wanted to tell you that I'm going to start a thread and a book that I've been meaning to read, and I've just started reading it. And it's a book that's very important to me. And so I will talk more about this later, but this is called The $1 Trillion Coach, a leadership playbook of Silicon Valley's Bill Campbell. Most people have never heard of him. And there's a book written by Eric Schmidt, who used to run Google and other folks. So what is interesting about him, Rose, and everybody who's watching, is that he had every Sunday night appointment with Steve Jobs and every Monday morning appointment with Larry Page of Google. A man you've never heard of was the most important man in Silicon Valley that you've not heard of. So this book I've started reading, as you see, and I'm going to start tweeting a thread about it. And I want to have a bunch of people, and I'm going to ask Eric to join us if he has time, or one of his co-authors to join us as we talk about this book. So if you can get it online, or you can borrow it from your library online, it's called The $1 Trillion Coach, and it's by Eric Schmidt. And we'd love for folks to join me in the days ahead. We will definitely do something with this. So as I read it, Rupa insists that we spend time reading a book instead of being online. So we try to do that every day. We're not always successful, right, Rupa? But we try, as she says. And one of the things that I want to say, while she can hear me as she's doing the dishes, even though she knows she doesn't have to, she does it because she knows if she wants to get it done on time, she has to. But I want to just thank her and everybody who has a spouse, a significant other, a brother, sister, up, down, any generation, who makes it possible for those of us who do public-facing things to do public-facing things. The only way we're able to do it is because we have incredible support. Rupa was not around earlier, Rose, when you asked that question, and she didn't hear me say nice things about her, so now I'm saying it. One of the things you learn is how to manage up, right? You got to manage your boss. So I'm managing her right now by making sure she's hearing me say nice things publicly about her. But she is an awesome woman, and I'm just grateful. Kalpana says, I read 5 pages of 2 books every day, and what a great habit it's becoming. That is awesome, Kalpana. I'm so glad to hear it. Somebody, Mark, I think, asked for my WhatsApp number, so I can add you to my WhatsApp alert list for when I go live. And I think we are done. It's Thursday night. Rose, I'm going to say goodbye to you so I can then say to everybody. Rose, you are awesome.
Thank you so much, Howard Young. Thank you.
Yeah, you are amazing. Everybody follow her. She's at Rose Horowitz 31. Rose Horowitz 31. Please join and follow. And Rabinder says, would love to discuss and learn more about $1 Trillion Coach. I love that. Please get the book, and I will start a Twitter thread on this, and we will read this book together. You'll get so many good ideas on how to be a better person, a better leader, and a better manager. Terry Thompson says, happy Maundy Thursday. I think I'm planning saying it right. Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, and then the resurrection on Sunday, and that's what's Easter. So that is that holiday for our Christian friends, as it is for our Jewish friends celebrating the second night of the Seder and the Passover night. So thank you, Rose, for celebrating part of it with us today. We are very, very grateful. Goodbye, Rose. Goodbye, Rose. Is that the line from the movie Titanic, right? The name Rose was in the news and everybody was talking about it. And I think he says goodbye, Rose, to her in a different circumstance. But Rose, I got to bring you back for a second. I don't know if how many times you've seen Titanic. I've seen it too many times. But the joke is that there was room on that whatever door she was lying on. She could have just scooched over a little bit, and Jack Dawson could have been saved. He could have jumped onto that giant door piece of wood that she was floating on. But then there wouldn't have been a story, and the romance of Jack Dawson and Rose. God, what is his name? What is her name? What was Rose's last name? I don't remember.
I'm not a Titanic scholar.
Titanic scholar.
I knew when my son was growing up, there was a boy in his class who read everything. Like, his mother was worried that he was too focused on a tragedy because he was reading everything about the Titanic.
Yeah. And Courtney says, thanks, Rose. So nice to meet you via Sree. Ashok says, thanks, Rose and Sree. And by the way, I wrote an article about the Titanic for the New York Times. Let me just quickly find it for you. Let me see how fast I can find it. But it was about how to understand what happened back in the day of the Titanic, and with the internet. I wrote 50 columns for the New York Times about the Titanic. No, it's not about the Titanic. I wrote about 50 articles for the New York Times, and one of them was about the Titanic. I'll show it to you right now. This was in the old days. Look at that, 1998. What is that, 22 years ago? My God. It was a different time and a different era, and this was a rich lore of Titanic stories. And this is that story here. And we used to call it Taking the Sights, and we used to give people websites like this. They would learn about it. Doesn't this look old? It really takes you back, doesn't it?
It's really,
and the recurring theme is the human toll of the disaster. A final word from Nick Wilson's site. Every April 14th, my friend Bruce, fellow Titanic enthusiast, and I sit quietly alone at 11:30 p.m. with a drink, and around 2:20 a.m. on the 15th, we tip our hats and go to bed, listening to the quiet of the early morning. And that was a disaster of immense proportion. And I bet you there's going to be great literature, great nonfiction, great fiction written about this era and of the COVID-19. And there are people who are writing that right now. Some of them might be watching, and it's going to be really important to understand. Stefan says it was Rose Dawson. So then what was Jack's name? I don't know. So Rose has to now go out and find out more about her namesake. Bye, Rose. We'll let you go. And thank you so much, Rose, for joining us. And for everybody who's here, thank you. We have an amazing show coming up for the next couple of nights. First, we're doing the You Gotta Laugh or You Will Have to Cry episode, Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. We have Pulitzer Prize winning cartoonist and several comedians. Mona Sheikh is going to join us. She's a stand-up comedian, and many more people are going to be joining us. On Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern, Manisha Koirala, the great Bollywood actress, is going to join us, and author of Healed, How Cancer Gave Me a New Life, is going to join us. And you will enjoy meeting her. And then at 9 p.m., we have our positivity show every night on Sunday, 9 p.m. Please join us. And please check out my other shows, Saturdays on WBAI Radio, 99.5 FM and WBAI.org. please check out my show, Coping with COVID-19, a helpful, hopeful call-in show, old-fashioned radio, but also on the internet. And then finally, Sundays, 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. every Sunday, every morning. On Sundays, the New York Times Read-Along, read the print New York Times with guests and doctors. And this week we have a great author and a great doctor who will be joining us. So I'm tired, you're tired. If you stayed for any of this, I am grateful. I am so grateful to our sponsor, frontlinefoodtrucks.com. The ad paid for by a third-party donor. Please go and donate to Frontline Food Trucks so food truck workers can make a living and feed doctors, nurses, and others at NYU Langone. They're trying to raise a lot of money, and they're going to do it. And you can fund us by having an ad. It's very inexpensive. Please just email me, Sree@Sree.net. Become a sponsor of this show so I can get some help, and we can all continue to learn more. I have my mask. I'm going to go out and walk Tara right now, and my hand sanitizer, which I hope you have as well. Thank you very much, everybody. I am very grateful. I don't know if anyone's going to tell me what was the name of Jack, the character in Titanic. If anyone can tell us, that would be great. I can't remember. Well, they can't both be Dawson because Stefan says it was Jack Dawson. Then what was Rose's last name? A mystery that we will never be able to solve. If only there was Google, we would be able to solve it. But that's the point that this book makes, that if it weren't for Bill Campbell, you would only be using Bing and other tools, not Google. You wouldn't be Googling it because of this great guy. He's also the guy who made the Apple ad, the famous 1984 ad. And he was a losing football coach before he became the great celebrated Bill Campbell. Celebrated not by you because you haven't heard of him, but he is responsible for more than $1 trillion worth of companies. So it was Jack Dawson, but what was the name of, oh, now I remember. Thank you. Oh my God. You're right. Her name was Dawson because her character was Rose DeWitt Bukater, I guess. And then she pretended to take Jack's name so that her evil husband, or the person she was engaged to, poor Billy Zane, wouldn't be able to find her. And that's why she was Rose DeWitt Bukater, who became Rose Dawson, and he was Jack Dawson. So that's all coming back. Too much information. Too many people know about this. Look at this. Everybody's jumping in, and it's pronounced Bukater. Thank you. This fictional character that too many people know and care about. So I apologize to people who got that right, and I was doubting that they were both named Dawson. And of course, there's a line in the movie where he says to the old lady, they tell her there's no record of a Jack Dawson, but there couldn't be because he had won those tickets last minute. And here we are, by the way, 2012. Rupa is here to yank me off to make sure I walk the dog. Why don't you give me Tara so we can show Tara? Tara, come here. Rupa's in her pajamas, so she may not want to be on camera. But people are, remind me that my poor doggy needs to go. Come on, Tara. Come here. Let's just show you. Come. Ooh. Come.
Look at that.
Yeah, come. There she is. There she is, and she's got a treat. Tara, here's a treat. And thank you, Tara. Oh, Tara, here's the treat. The light is a little too much on the screen, but she's enjoying her snack. This is the Tara, and she loves walks, and she's doing only two walks, so to make sure her private parts are not on TV, and she smells wonderful, terribly wonderful. That's how I know I'm not dead and I don't have COVID, is smelling her. And she used to go for 4 walks a day. She's now, poor thing, going only for 2 walks a day. So she's doing her part. We had a great dog expert on the show, Rupa, you remember that? And he gave us so many tips. Last Sunday's positivity show was amazing. Please do join us. And thank you all for watching. Please email me, Sree@Sree.net. Become a subscriber on YouTube, please. Sreenet on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. Rupa, you want me to turn this off, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she does. Say hi to everybody. Say good night.
Good night.
Good night. Tara says good night because we're going for walkie, and it's like going out in Chernobyl, folks. We go out there. We don't know what's going to kill us, but we have each other, Tara and I, and Rupa and the kids. But Tara and I go out with a mask and everything. We have to get a doggy mask for Tara. I think we need to do that soon. Walk the dog, says Terry. Get off the camera.
Terry.
Thanks, Terry. Let me just say that I've got to turn off the show. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye. Remember, Friday night, the humor show, 9 p.m. Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Manisha Koirala, the Bollywood star. And then 9 p.m. on Sunday, the weekly positivity show. Positivity could be just us. Don't you think she's better here? Tara on Instagram, Rupa, or should I end the show?
I'd like to do it.
I can't reach. Can you end the show? Without going on camera, you can end the show right there.
Good night.
Up on the upper right, the red button.
This
yeah,
one?
there you go. Bye.